Hello everyone, I'm Ziqi Wang. I'm an Industrial and Operations Engineering master's student in University of Michigan. I work in collaboration with Professor Amy Coyne and our clinical collaborator, Dr. Germ. Today, we're going through our project of simulating patient flow through a cardiac intensive care unit. I work with Center for Healthcare Engineering and Patient Safety, also known as CHEPS, where I do the work I'm about to present. CHEPS bring together engineers and medical professionals to solve the real-world problems in healthcare. For me, CHEPS has been valuable and I've allowed working on the project I'm about to share with you now. So today's outline is quite straightforward. We will talk about the background of our project, the simulation framework, and the analysis we conduct, and also the future research of our project. Every day, there are many patients with cardiac disease go to a cardiovascular center in Michigan Medicine, and all these patients need the surgery in OR, the care from the surgeons and staff, and also ICU beds. Based on the preliminary knowledge from our collaborators, in these four needs, ICU bed capacity is always a scarce resource, and it will limit our ability to perform surgeries and accept transfer from other health systems, especially for cardiac disease, which often has a high mortality rate. Therefore, we want to ensure adequate care and capacity at Michigan Medicine's Cardiovascular Center to prevent patients denied when patients request care at our hospital. In exploring our research question, we discovered that we had to more broadly consider how Michigan Medicine is using their cardiac ICU resource. Simulation is a good way to understand how randomness affects this complex system. So we conduct a discrete event simulation model, and this can help us with test policies to increase patients' access to high-quality care, and also educate clinical partners about uncertainty of the system. First, we want to learn about the patient flow. Anytime a cardiovascular patient that requires request at Michigan Medicine had this general flow through the system. After they arrive and be admitted, they will go to OR for the procedure. And after that, they will be placed to the ICU for initial close monitoring. And when their health condition become better, they will process to step down and eventually being discharged. However, some patients have a more complex flow. For patients in step down, if their health conditions become worse, they need to go back to ICU, and we call this process as bounce back. Also, there is a small proportion of patients go to step down directly after they arrive in the system. So to make it clearly, the framework shows the logic of our model. Our model assumes that OR, surgery, and staff are always available. So when a patient arrives, they will have some possibilities that they go to step down first. And for ICU first patients, we ask the question that is there an ICU bed available? So if the answer is no, then we deny these patients, which introduced the second major assumption of the model, that we have the ability to decline any patients. And when the patients stay in ICU for several of days, once they are ready to be transferred, which means they are ready, they are well enough and don't need intensive care. Also, there is available bed in step down. Then they will move to the step down. But if they are ready for transfer, but there are not in available beds in step down, they will still stay in ICU, and we call this period of stay as unnecessary stay in ICU. Also, we can call it as the step down status stay in ICU. And when patient in step down, they just, if they are ready for discharge, they can leave our system directly. However, if their health condition become worse, they will bounce back to ICU and experience the same process again. From the historical data, we can generate the inputs of our model. Some of these inputs are fixed, such as the number of beds in the unit, the period of time for which we simulate the system, also how many times we run the simulations for. And also bounce back probability is a determined value we calculate from the EHR data. And we also have some random inputs such as the arrival rate, which follows the exponential distribution, and the length of stay in ICU and step down follows the geometric distribution. For the arrival rate, we found from the historical data that it depends on the day of week, which means for different days of week, they will have different arrival rate. And for ICU first patients, we define their length of stay in ICU and step down in a unique way, because the patient may bounce back for several times, which means they will have multiple stays in ICU or step down. According to the historical data, we set two lengths of stay inputs for both ICU and step down. The first one is length of stay of patient's first ICU or step down visit. And the second one is the average length of stay of all the remaining ICU or step down visit. This will make our model more reasonable. And similar things happen for bounce back probability. We cannot set only one bounce back probability for every patient in every steps. And we found in the historical data and divide two patient groups. Bounce back probability 1 for patients whose length of stay of their most recent ICU visit is longer than the median, and bounce back probability 2 for the patients whose length of stay of their most recent ICU visit is below the median. And we find that bounce back probability 1 is greater than 2, and it's quite consistent with the real case, because if you stay longer in ICU, which means your health condition may be worse and you will have a higher probability to bounce back. And everything I just discussed was about ICU first patients, and then we move to the step down first patients, because they arrive in the step down first, so they will have like different length of stay of their first step down visit, and also a different bounce back probability. But once they bounce back to ICU, they will be treated as the normal patients who start from ICU. So they also follow the previous requirements. And we collect descriptive statistic for the number of the patient that requested care at our system, the number of accepted and denied patients. Also, we collect the patient's length of stay in ICU and the unnecessary days in ICU, which means they are ready to go to step down, but there is no available beds in step down, so they still stayed in ICU for a period of time. And also, we collect the bed utilization for both ICU and step down. So after we build the model and decide the input and metrics we collect, we conduct these three analyses to evaluate the system performance. The first two is about how many beds we need in ICU and step down to meet the required level of patients denied. And the third analysis is about how bounce back influence the denial rate. So we have the base case parameters as shown here. We have only one patient type, and the arrival rate depends on the day of week. The time horizon here is 1 year, and we do the simulation for 1,000 replications. Also, there are 72% of patients who go to ICU first and 27% of patients who go to step down first. For the analysis 1, we want to estimate how many beds we need in ICU. So we set 1,000 step down beds to avoid bottleneck from ICU to step down, and increase the ICU beds number from 28 to 34. By communicating with our collaborators, we set the acceptable level of patients denied to be 5% and the ICU beds utilization to be 75%. From the result, we can conclude that 34 ICU beds meet these two requirements. Also, the unnecessary length of stay in ICU equals to 0 for all these 4 experiments, which is consistent with our assumption. because we always have available step-down beds. The analysis 2 is about how many beds we need in step-down. So according to the previous analysis, we set 34 ICU beds to avoid bottleneck from step-down to ICU and increase the step-down beds number from 34 to 62. Although when we set 62 step-down beds, can we meet the 5% patients denied requirements, but the step-down beds utilization is extremely low under this scenario. And you can find the benefit of adding step-down beds will plateau after a certain point. The marginal benefits of lowering the percentage of patient denied will be outweighed by the drawbacks of low bed utilization. So we choose 50 step-down beds as our final result. For the analysis 3, we want to evaluate the influence of bounce back. So we set 34 ICU beds and 50 step-down beds according to the previous two analyses, and increase 2% each time for both to bounce back probability. And you can find that the percentage of patients denied grows more rapidly than the increase of bounce back probability. When we increase the bounce back probability to 16% and 21%, which is the fourth experiment, the number of denied patients doubled compared with the initial scenario. This means only a slight change of bounce back probability will have a huge influence on our system. So there are two major takeaways of our analysis. First one is the benefits of adding ICU and step-down beds will plateau after a certain point. The marginal benefits of lowering the percentage of patients denied will be outweighed by the drawbacks of low bed utilization. And the second one is even a small amount of uncertainty in the hospital system has a significant impact on patient flow. And in our case, the uncertainty means the change of the bounce back probability. For the future research, we have two main directions. The first is, since we don't consider the OR process in the model now, so we want to add the elective surgery process to the model, which may influence the arrival rate. And second, we want to use the simulation to help make better decisions about accepting transfers and arranging elective surgeries. It's something about the applications of our model. Finally, I want to thank all the current and previous team members and our collaborators who contribute to this work. Thanks for listening.